right, so we're live for another episode of the Elite Development Podcast. Today I've got Ryan Hands from Handmade Hockey in Ottawa sitting down with me. Ryan, thanks for kind of agreeing to come on the show.
Hey, buddy, thanks for having me.
So just to start off, can you give me a little bit of background, just who you are, your background in hockey, and sort of where that's led to today?
Yeah, no problem. Growing up in the Ottawa area, played minor hockey, lived hockey ever since I was a kid. Played junior B at 16. Ended up going and making a team I wasn't really supposed to make just because I was not shy to drop the mitts. Everyone would say. Went into camp and I got hit by one of the biggest guys, and I just reacted. It was one of those things. I wasn't the biggest guy, but I had to make the team somehow, and I thought, if somebody did something, I have to be ready. So I ended up making the team because of that fight, and then from there, a few games into the season, I had a scrap with another one of the guys, top guys in the league. He's coming down in the first period, head down, cutting across the middle. I laid him out. Came back in the third period, wasn't too happy, and I hadn't really been in many fights up to that date. He was a 21-year-old big guy. I was 16. Knocked me on the shin pad, said, "Let's go." Looked at him, no thanks. Big beer, big guy like you. Won the face-off back in our zone. He came kind of rushed me. Got the puck out. He elbows flying, hit the glass. I got out of there, gave me a slash on the back of the legs. I turned around. He dropped the mitts. I ended up dropping. And luckily, when I grabbed onto his cage, he threw me down. His helmet came off. I just started feeding him. There was a big homo scout in the stands, ended up seeing that. So he ended up coming talking to my old man me after the game, said he'd be watching me throughout the year. Ended up getting me out to Baie-Comeau the next year. I wasn't supposed to make the team. And I went in with mentality. I was 6'1", 175. Went in with the mentality that, I had to do anything to make that team, and ended up making that team. I played parts of 4 years major junior and then 11 years pro. Played in Quebec for a few years, 7 years in the States, a year in England. And now I'm back. 3 years I've been retired. Coached 2 years with Hawkesbury Hawks Junior A here in Ottawa. Now I'm basically just working on the business. I've been doing this ever since I started playing junior hockey. I've been coming back, helping out hockey camps, getting more of a leadership role. That's all I've been doing. I could have done everything else in between seasons. I've had opportunities to do, you name it. I've had the chance to do it, but it's just hockey. It's a passion that I have that, and then having my kid, it was just time to start Handmade Hockey. So my kid just turned 3 a couple weeks ago, and Handmade Hockey is going to be turning 2 in June. So lots of hard work with what I do. I've obviously been able to have a lot of playing experience, a lot of life experience, and picking up skills. And in practice throughout my career, I was always that guy, working hard, first guy on the ice, last guy off the ice, always trying to pick up that extra skill. I see a guy doing a move, backhand toe drag. How do you do that? How do you do it? Show me the little tips. And, that's something that I'm trying to break down that I can translate later on. And, it's funny how everything all comes full circle. And, with the people that I've been fortunate enough to work with after my playing career, I've been able to pick up some amazing stuff. Skating, shooting, passing, puck control, and they're able to tie it in all together and make my hybrid program. So.
Yeah, I want to for sure get into a lot more about Handmade Hockey through this interview for sure. And obviously, yeah, as you said, not shy to drop the mitts. That was a big part of your role in your playing days. And obviously, that's got to be one of the toughest roles on any hockey team, right? Is the guy that's there to back up, the guy that's there to back everyone up, the guy that's there to drop the gloves, because you kind of never know who you're going to be squaring off against night after night. What kind of goes into that role? How do you get yourself psyched up for games knowing that that's likely what you're going out there to do?
Well, throughout my career, I wasn't always the biggest guy. I wasn't the cheapest player, but I was the most respectful guy on my team. Night in, night out, my coach knew exactly what he was going to get from me. My teammates knew exactly what they were going to get from me. And like you said, you wouldn't know who you're fighting. It was the opposite for me. I was so well prepared, and I had the same warm up, the same preparation all the way through my entire career. And that comes down to the night before a fight. It wasn't I was looking online. I was seeing who the other team had. I was watching videos, what they did, how they fight, and so I'm able to visualize and be prepared. So realistically, I'm ready for anything. So that way, you know, stepping into the game, walking into that rink, as soon as I walk through those doors, I'm flicking that switch and I'm getting ready. I have my headphones on, getting ready. I have my same warm up, same stretch, visualizing the same stuff, sitting in the same spot. Come out and I do my 2 hard laps, sit up right up with the red line, exact same spot, and I do my stretch, and I'd look, and I'd call the guy over. You bring your dancing shoes tonight? We going? And they were looking at me, and half the time they didn't know who I was, and that was my advantage because I was so well prepared. In my head, I had already won the fight because that's what I did. That's how I would provide momentum and provide this something that nobody else could do for my team. Guys were scoring goals, and I wasn't going to be able, as much as I wanted to. I wasn't going to. I wasn't scoring a hat trick, but if my coach was coming in after warm up, he'd look at me and say, "Did you get one?" He could see in my face. I'm sitting there taping my wrist. I got my headphones on. I'm in the zone, and he knows I got one, and I'm going for a shift. As soon as that puck drops, opening face off, I was ready to go. And that way, that second shift we were scoring. Third shift we were scoring again. I'm still in the box, and we're up 2-3 nothing, and I'm sitting there, firing up because I felt that I contributed. And boys are coming by, they're hammering the glass, giving me fists on the glass, loving it because I fired them up. And that was my part of the team. That was my role. And that was the biggest thing that I understood my role. And I wasn't, if I played, I could play 50 minutes in a game, I'd be ready to go. If I played 5 minutes in the game, I'd be ready to go, and I wouldn't complain, and I'd be ready for my coach. And just being able to sit there and observe the game, I find where a lot of guys say, "Oh fuck, well, up here not looking, paying attention." I was watching the game. I'm admiring all the little moves, all the skill things that the players would do, and actually watching the game and seeing how different players adapt to different coaching styles, and all these different things that now I can look back at as a coach. Like I say, like I had different experiences with player A, player B, or coach A, coach B. That can help different players down the road. So.
Yeah, I really like what you said because I wouldn't have thought of that at all. Like, obviously, player teams will like watch tape on other teams and things like that, but breaking it down to the individual level of like, your role on the team, who you're looking for, and just the fact that you were that well prepared going in every night, knowing what you had to do. I love that because I think that just shows again, like as you said, the dedication to the game, right, and the passion you had for the game. You knew I'm making my role you knew what your role was, and you thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to prepare the same way as anybody else is going to prepare, but just looking for who you're going to take on, looking for how you're going to contribute night in and night out.
Yeah. And that was my role. And that was, and I was fine with that because, I worked hard for that role. I would prepare in the summertime. I hurt my right hand when I was playing junior. My first season in the Q, I was all right hands. And I hurt my right hand. So what I have to do, I train all left hands. And then I detached my retina. I was 100% blind in my left eye, and I wasn't ever supposed to play hockey again. So I had to develop a style that I wasn't able to take damage. I couldn't take punches.
Yeah.
You watch the latter half of my career, I wasn't taking any punches directly because, my style, I was able to break down. Like my whole career, everything that I do, I break it down to the bone. So even, with fighting, I look at, it's an art really because I wasn't out there. I wasn't jumping guys. I wasn't, trying to get the advantage right off the bat. I'm saying, okay, like you think, okay, you're the best guy for your team. Okay, I'm the best guy for my team. Let's go helmets off, gloves off, center ice. Let's get everybody fired up and we'll see. I wasn't jumping you. I wasn't trying to get the upper hand right off, giving you a couple sucker punches. I was looking you in the face. Okay, let's go. And that was the best way to, to provide that bump, that's that momentum for my team.
Yeah, because quite often what I see now just in my role, strength and conditioning coach in the gym is athletes that, again, like, they want to prepare, they want to go in, they want to work out, but they're really not taking that sort of extra time that obviously is key when you're getting into those pro levels. So like from your career and from like the years you've played and all the different experiences you've had, do you have any takeaways, any lessons that, say you're talking to a 14-year-old kid right now who's trying to make it to the pros? Like, what would you tell them to start working on right now to be able to make it that far?
The biggest thing is, the biggest thing that separates all players is the mental game. You
Yeah.
know, it's preached all the time, you know, this and that, but you know, the reality is like if you're going to make it to the next level, like you're not going to be you're not going to be the top kid your whole life and then expect to just go all the way through and just dance all the way through to the NHL and just make it all the way through. It's a tough ride, and I tell that to all my players. Like you have to make that commitment right from the start, and that's your preparation, your focus, everything on a daily basis. And that's not just, okay, yeah, I go to the gym every day. I go to the gym and I work out for an hour, you know, and that's me getting ready. No, you have to go to the gym. Go to the gym. You have to make sure you're stretched, you know, you're prepared to do that workout to get your maximum out of yourself. And then, you know, you stretch and you're done, you know, take your time and actually focus on, you know, being ready. Because if you take that time to actually take care of yourself, the longevity is huge. Like I look at my career, I played, you know, how I played years of just crashing as hard as I can, you know, trying to run guys through the boards. And I look at my body now and my body's still decent.
Yeah.
I don't feel like a lot of the guys, my knees and knock on wood, everything, you know, I didn't have all these bad injuries because I always took care of myself. I always
Yeah.
stretched before games. I was stretched before practices. I was always, when I was in the gym, I wasn't being a retard, just throwing weight around, just, you know, just trying to do it just cause. No, there was a purpose for every single thing I did, you know,
Yeah.
and
I think
that's
that's
the way you
key.
have to look at it. And it's breaking it down. Like I was saying with, you know, breaking it down to all the fine points. You know, you can't just go into the gym and just throw. No, you have to do it. One day you're doing one thing, another day you're doing another thing. You know, and actually take that third day to recover,
Yeah.
because recovery is so important. That's one thing that's so underestimated. Yeah, it's good to go 150 miles an hour, you know, 24/7, but you have to be able to recover.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, well, that kind of leads me into my next question. As far so like during your seasons, obviously there's a lot of games, a lot of practices. What did your average week look like on any of those given teams? You know, how does a week in the pros look for you as a player?
Oh, I think, you know, a lot of the time during the week, you know, we have that practice at 10 a.m. You know, so you show up at the rink, you know, 8:30. You know, have a coffee in the room, shoot the shit with the boys, get the stick ready, go out for practice. You know, coach will do whatever for about, you know, 45 to an hour, and you can stay there for as long as you want. You know, and then after that, you know, you go in the room, have a couple, you know, Gatorades, sit around, laugh with the boys for a bit, decide where you're going for lunch, go grab a bite to eat, and then you go to the gym. After go to the gym, go grab a bite to eat, and you go home for a while. And it's, you know, with wherever you played, it was just, you know, the connections. You know, if you have, you know, a restaurant right next to the rink, you were going to that restaurant every day after practice, and there's a group of 10 of us in there, you know, where people are walking in and saying, "Oh, geez, there's the local protein," you know, and that's bringing in more people every single time we're in there. You know,
Yeah.
and then it's, you know, we're getting 50 off at this place, 50 off at this place. I wasn't playing in the NHL, so I was playing in, you know, the minor pro leagues where, you know, lots of sponsors were looking to help us. They knew we weren't making, you know, millions of dollars, so they were looking to help us out. We had families and, you know, billets, and it was even, you know, just having these families that would take us out for groceries. I was playing in the SP in Fayetteville, North Carolina. I had the best group of people, the best family ever just take me out, and we'd go get groceries. I'd walk with the cart and pick whatever I needed for the week, and we'd go out for supper after. You know, and that was just them because they loved the team, they loved me, and, you know, they were just such great people. You know, and it was just the communities that took care of us. You know, and it was great. It was you know, just getting in that routine. You know, it was just doing the same thing over and over again, but it was, you know, it was great. You know, wake up every day, go to the rink, practice, go to the gym. You know, and then you have a game, and you waking up, you know, have a little morning skate, go home, grab a bite to eat, take a nap, you know, wake up, go to the rink a couple hours before a game, play a game, you know, go for a couple pops after the game. You know, it was a great life. You know, just traveling. Like, there was lots of buses, long bus trips, sleeper buses. You know, just great times that we were able to, you know, spend together with great group of guys that, you know, make memories that will last forever.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I like what you said too about like the communities in those towns, because again, obviously things are different in the NHL when, you know, everybody's a household name and all of that. But with these minor level pro leagues, just to see how kind of the community comes around you too, and they're all kind of looking to
Oh, yeah.
help guys on the team out. Like, I love the sound of that. That's
Oh yeah, like you're the NHL to them. If
yeah,
you
exactly.
like, that's the pro team. They're buying tickets to come watch you play.
Yeah,
So I was the guy taking off my helmet, fighting in center ice, cheering up, like kissing babies, signing autographs after all the games. So it was one of those things. I was always the fan favorite because I had an experience. One of my first games, I went to the Montreal Forum with my old man, and John McClain threw me a puck in warm up. My
yeah,
dad ended up writing a letter back then, to the New Jersey Devils, who ended up, the next time they came back to the Forum, they sent my dad and I tickets. So we ended up going down underneath in the dressing room, and I'm sitting there. That picture, Guy Carbonneau, he's got his jersey and everything on intermission, and I'm sitting beside him. Picture, yeah, exactly. That was one thing that really stuck out for me. So what do you think I did every single game? I was always throwing kids pucks, and I was getting tweets, pictures, kids sleeping with pucks. Thank you so much. Like, and it was nothing to me. What is it to me to pick up a puck and throw it to a kid in warm up? But
yeah.
I know that kid's going to want to come to every single game for the rest of the year just to see if he's going to get another puck and just wave. That was big to me.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. Well, I love that too, because again, like when you are the kid in that situation, it's huge to,
Yeah,
have the guy on the ice actually acknowledge you, actually
yeah,
throw you a puck. Like I
yeah,
know I definitely have memories the same thing going to watch the Ottawa Senators play way back in the day.
yeah.
Maybe not as fun all the time now, but it was a good time back then. So
Right. And I have memories too where people said no to me. Like my dad almost scrapped Tom Barrasso way back in the day when he was playing with the Penguins, the Civic Center, because he was walking through and I asked him for his autograph and he said no. My dad had grabbed him. Like, that's one thing that stuck out to me. I'm not going to be that asshole.
yeah,
Says no to kids. Like, I was playing in England. Now the coach was always waiting for me because I was walking. I just sign everything and take pictures, everything all the way through, to the way to the dressing room, and I wasn't going to say no.
yeah. No, I think that's like that goes to show a lot of the character that I think you bring into your company now too. And actually, that's kind of bringing me into the next questions, which like from your playing career, what have you sort of taken into the coaching that you do now? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh, I've taken a lot of it. It's like I talked earlier, just about the way I was as a player. Like the things that I did. If I was a defenseman, I played D, I played forward. I fought, I did all these things, but I broke it down right to the finer points, and that's the way I look at my job now. What I do, I break down shooting, right to the bone. A kid takes a shot, I can, this. Skating, it's breaking it down, how to do it right to be able to tell it to a beginner or to a pro and everybody in between, and being able to break down that fire points and have that, you know, that presence. When I stepped on the ice as a player, as soon as I stepped on, you knew I was stepping on the ice.
Yeah,
And I have that same presence now. When I call in a group, one kid's messing around, I'm not going to let that one kid mess up my whole session.
yeah,
I was that kid. I'm going to tell him I'm going to be able to neutralize that kid right off the bat and
yeah,
let him know, like, there's no messing around in my sessions. When I'm out there, it's business, and it's the same way as when I was a player. With my business, the same mentality. I have that. If that puck's in the corner, I'm coming out with it. I have that same mentality. If if my competitor, anybody's going for that puck, it's going to be me that comes out with it. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think, it's important to have that presence both as a player and as a coach, right? Like I know
yeah,
that's definitely a difficulty working with groups of kids. You've always got that one kid that kind of wants to show off or wants everybody to be looking at him and laughing at him. And so to be able to kind of come out and neutralize that, I think is a
yeah.
really,
Well, I
yeah,
was that kid. Like I said, it's funny. Like I was that funnier, like louder kid. So it's telling him, hey, you're wasting everybody's time.
yeah,
It's make that kid realize that they're wasting everybody's time, and they're looking. You're wasting the whole group's time. They're looking like, yeah, stop it.
yeah, yeah,
If that doesn't work, you pull them aside, and you have to find that way. Every kid's different.
yeah,
And it's finding that way to get through to your athletes, and that's the difference between nowadays, like when I was coaching junior A a couple of years ago, last year, the difference between when I played junior to now, my coach would have told me, hey, you better go, do this. Like, what's wrong with you? You got to start hitting, or I'm going to trade you to Timbuktu. I'm going to go hit everything that moves, score a goal, jump up and down, look at the coach, say, what next? You say that to a kid now, that kid's going to shut down. And you
yeah,
say, you better start doing something. that kid's shoulders drop, he's going to pout, and you're like, you can't do that. You have to be able to find a way to connect to that kid to tell him, how to get him to it. It's all confidence. If you're crushing confidence, you're not going to be able to get much out of your players. You have to be able to, like, as a teammate, as a player, I was able to realize how huge confidence was. Just, hey, buddy, good shift. Hey, man, nice pass. Hey, Wolf, what a shot. You didn't score, but you'll probably score next time. Next time he scores, who's he looking at? He's going to be looking at me and fire up, right?
Yeah.
Take that same mentality into my coaching. Like, I'm working out there with a kid, can't even raise the puck. Started the session, he came and raised the puck, and then 2 minutes later he's picking corners. I'm celebrating, and I'm cheering harder than he is. He's turning around, and I've got one knee down. I'm dragging my hand on the ice. I'm celebrating. Parents are jumping around, like, looking at me, like, "Oh my God, this guy's serious."
Yeah.
Because I show that passion. I'm genuine.
Yeah.
Like, I know that kid it's creating that environment for that kid. That he knows. Even if I'm, hey, do this. Hey, why'd you mess up that shot? I want that kid to be able to identify why he messed up. Why, I could have done this wrong. I could have done that wrong because of the way I taught him. I have that relationship. You create that relationship with that kid, with that athlete, that you're able to criticize without them, taking it to heart, really.
Yeah. Well, I think it's huge because they've got to know that you're in it for them, right? You're in it to see them succeed.
Oh, for sure.
Just what you said too about like being able to look at them and say, "Hey, why did you mess up that shot?" I think one thing that you can often see lack, but I think is important, our role as coaches to try to drive with younger athletes is accountability, right? It's like you've got to learn to take ownership of it, because especially when you're at the top level, you mess up that shot or you do this wrong or do that wrong, you're not able to kind of turn around and point fingers at somebody else. It's you've got to fix your issue or you're not going to be at the top level very long.
Exactly. And it's teaching those players how to take criticism.
Yeah.
And realize that you're going to make mistakes. Hockey is a game of mistakes. And I do lots of video with players, and I'm sitting there, and it's just about minimizing your mistakes. We're watching their shifts, and every single shift we're taking notes of what they're doing. And it's okay. Well, you did this. When we start out, day one, it's all negative. And now, a year and a half later, working with these players, it's all positives.
Yeah.
And it's, they're getting noticed by other players that, because they're doing all the little things. When you focus on the little things, it's not, I'm trying to score every shift. There's so many elements to a game. There's so many elements to every single shift. You get the puck, what do you do with it? What can you do with it? It's being ready at all times, and that's just comes back to preparation.
Yeah.
You're sitting there on the bench and you're moping and, kind of, my last shift, missed an open net. No, you have to be ready. You got to forget about that and focus now. Be able to go out there and do something now and not think, oh man, I screwed up in the first period, didn't get that puck out. You got to be ready now. That's what I tell my kids. So.
Yeah, I think that's huge too, is again, having the short memory, right? Like you are going to make mistakes. You are going to lose games. You are going to miss open nets, but just being able to put that in the back of your mind and focus on what's coming up next instead.
Right.
And like, as far as what you're saying about doing the little things, I think one thing that I often try to always preach with my athletes, obviously, because I'm working with them in the gym, is the importance of the importance of the physical preparation, whether it's in season or off season. And like, obviously you were saying for your own career, taking care of yourself physically was a huge part in being able to play your style for as long as you did. Is like, do you find that kids now are taking themselves seriously in that way? Or how do you find you are able to affect the way they think about their training and their physical preparation for the sport as well?
I think a lot of kids underestimate just the overall value of stretching and preparing yourself.
Yeah.
Like how many kids you talk to and you're like, hey, did you stretch before the, oh yeah, I stretched. What'd you do? Oh, I put my leg up on the couch there and that was it. I used to take like 25 minutes, 25, 30 minutes. Like take your time, before and after every workout. Make that part of your routine. That's the best part. And you want to be able to go out there and throw hits. You have to be able to move your body. And you have these kids that, are trying to go out there. Okay, I can go out there and throw 3, 4 hits a shift. And then they throw one hit and they're hurt. You're like, well, why am I hurt every time? Because your body can't take the impact. Your body has to be prepared. So if you're a different style of player, you're obviously going to prepare differently. If you're going to be throwing your arms and throwing your elbows up all the time, you have to be able to make sure your range is good. And, your muscles are moving properly, because the first time that you pop out that shoulder, it's not coming back in.
Yeah, it's not going to be really going to be the same after. If you pop it out once, it's going to probably cause you some issues.
Exactly. Oh, it's going to be long term. That's what they don't realize. It's like all these small injuries that could end up, big time, just because you don't take care of yourself. You get a small injury, it's like, oh, I got to get back. I want to play right now. It's like, well, take that extra week just to take care of yourself. Well, I want to play right now. It's like, but okay, then you're going to hurt yourself and be out 2 months, and then 4 months, 6 months.
And just off that, I think, again, because that's something I see quite a lot, is just sort of that idea of instant gratification. Like when I bring a new athlete into the gym, right away they want to be lifting heavier. They want to be doing the more complex exercises. They want to be kind of, running before they can walk, and I think that's something that, again, creating the systems and creating the habits, right, of, in order to have the long career you want to have, what do you need to be doing right now? What do you need to be putting in place right now to make sure that you're setting yourself up for success in the future, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny you say that. That's a term that I always use too. I'm not going to teach you to run if you can't walk properly.
Yeah.
And like when people you want to come out and do skating stuff and they want to rip through full speed, or puck control stuff, rip through full speed. It's like, no, go through slow, under control, and then add your speed, add confidence. That's one thing. Then you do it. That's like, oh, okay. And then notice a difference.
Yeah. Learning the foundation, learning how to create.
Building that strong foundation.
Yeah. Not just jumping in, like, a 14-year-old kid shouldn't be training the way an NHL player is training. They've got to learn how to train that way before they can get there, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then, so as a coach now, like you talked a little bit about sort of, what you try to preach with your players, but can you talk a little bit about sort of how Handmade Hockey came to be and your philosophy, like just with how you coach now?
I mean, with Handmade, like I'd been working major roles with other companies, and I think it was that time that I needed to start on my own. Like I said, I had my kid. I was kind of in between. I was working at one company and I wasn't really sure I had enough to get started, but I mean, it just kind of lacked that push. So once I got that push, I was good to go, and I haven't looked back since. I mean, it's been amazing. Like, it's been almost 2 years, like I said, in June coming up here. Can't ask for any more. Like, it's been great. I've been able to work with so many people, and my connections have been coming back around. Like, I've been able to run tournaments last year. Looking obviously up in the air right now, but I was looking to run a bigger one this year. With my team training, been able to work with so many different teams, my individuals, just my one-on-one training. I do lots of privates on the studio ice. So with the video stuff that I do, I'm able to incorporate, the one-on-one sessions. We're able to talk about, what they do on the ice in their shifts as we're doing the sessions. So it's really taking that personal approach, not doing the same thing for everybody, because everybody learns differently.
Yeah.
It's having those relationships with the parents, telling me how their kid's doing, because it's not just me showing up, hey guys, hopping on the ice, okay, bye guys, see you later. It's about offering that full service and being there for your players and being there for everybody, the families, and because that's what I want. I want to have that reputation and be known for that guy, be known as that guy who, the guy who I wish I had when I was growing up, that could have helped me with all those situations, because now I've been through all that shit. I can tell there's not many situations a kid can ask me about that I haven't been through.
Yeah.
Like the worst of the worst all the way through. And, it's me being able to be there for the kids. That's the best part. And then just seeing the development and, helping these kids reach their goals.
Yeah, because I think, like, from when I was back in Ottawa last year, and we were talking a little bit about just sort of the development of your company that lasted a while. I think one of the things that really stuck out to me was just, again, the passion that you bring to it all. Like, you can tell that, this is what you were meant to do, right?
Yeah.
And like, one thing I really loved hearing about too, and I was hoping you could talk about, was the tournament you ran last year with the team that you put together. I think you got the jersey in the background there. And like, the idea behind that tournament and just sort of how that came to be your group that you had there. And you were telling me how like they've kind of kept in contact even after that tournament that you put them together for.
Yeah. I mean, like that whole program was amazing. Like, decided to run a spring team. So with my business, my company, I got sponsored by CCM. So with, talking with him, my CCM guy, I'm just kind of brainstorming ideas, decided to come up and run a spring team, because I'd run the Hawks Junior A, the CDHL program. And I knew that a bunch of teams, do that in the spring. So I kind of was looking to make that, elite, spring team, midget AAA team. So I ended up going around, and I had, when I first went around, I asked all the AAA kids. Everybody said yes, and then I came back around with all the details, and everybody said no. So I had to go around and recruit a bunch of players. So I ended up getting, a core group of AA kids, that were amazing kids, the best kids that I could have asked for.
Yeah.
That were looking for that jump. Those kids that were looking for that help, that that had that, had that excuse, that maybe they didn't get that opportunity, that they needed that shot. And they were just lacking a little bit of confidence. And that's, where I come in and help them, realize that they're actually, how good they can be, really. So we were able to do, it was about a 15-week program, and we decided to run a tournament. So we ended up getting a 16 tournament. And with that, it started off because I was talking with my CCM guy, and he sent me a screenshot of something one of his other guys that he has in Boston, who runs a tournament in Boston. So I saw that, and I was like, oh, well, can I do something like that? So he said, of course. So I ended up talking to him, and I talked to my buddies at Gong Show. I talked to a couple other buddies, Fan Saves, Telus, Kudo, Home Depot. Ended up putting together a bunch of stuff for 16 tournaments. I ended up getting championship belts, medals, website, everything. I put it together in about 2 months, just over 2 months. We ended up losing in the finals, but after that, we went to Niagara Falls about a month later. And I mean, I tell you, my team was amazing. Like, we ended up losing in the finals. Like, we had the first game, the Zamboni driver stopped and asked us, where are you guys from? The boys play some good hockey. The refs were stopping and asking us. The other teams, people were coming up asking us in the stand. Like, we took 2 penalties our first game. I couldn't tell you another penalty we took all the way through. Like, it was just disciplined, couple injuries, just smart. And like, after that, we had 10 players that went up. They never played AAA. We had 10 players that went up AAA or moved up to Junior B. My captain, Sam Clawwater, is the man. I remember after our tournament, I got a call from the Junior B coach in Renfrew, asked me, do you think I should sign this Sam Clawwater kid? I was so fired up. I was waiting for that call. I remember sitting on my front step talking to this guy for about 40 minutes, pumping Sam's tires. Sam finished about a point a game this year in Junior B. Absolute stud as a 16-year-old. Yeah, we had a great group of kids. Every single one of them has made huge progress this year. Really looking forward to getting started. We were supposed to start here this week for this year's team Handmade. I got a really impressive roster so far. Obviously pushed back a month, but
yeah. Hopefully this all clears up soon and you guys can get right back to that.
Yeah, no, it was amazing. Just with just the way everybody bought in, exactly what I was putting down. Everybody bought in the skating, puck control, the shooting, and there's just every single player has seen massive strides this year.
Well, and I think that speaks volumes, obviously, to yourself as a coach, but like just the fact that you're able to take that AA group, bring them into these tournaments, and see the changes that you were able to make to them. Like, it just shows that sometimes, again, it's like, and even like having people stop you, like 2 penalties in the first game, and then not taking penalties the rest of the way through. If we know anything about teenage kids, and I say this from being, from my own experience, discipline is probably one of the biggest things they generally lack. And so to be able to bring them in and create such a culture in a team in such a short time is a pretty amazing thing.
Yeah, like we actually, a quick example, we were in the semifinals of my tournament, and one of our kids, guys on top of him, giving him bomb, didn't do anything, came back to the bench. The kid's like, why didn't you do anything? He turned around and he said, pointed at me, he said, he asked me not to do anything. And it's just like, man, I gave him a pound. I was like, man, that kid, like, it's just little things like that. Like they see that and other kids see that and like, man, that's the biggest kid in their team who could have killed that guy who didn't because he said that he asked me to. He asked me not to do anything, so I didn't.
Yeah, and I mean, best interest of the team, right? Like now, I mean, I'm hoping in that situation you got a power play out of it. And,
right. We end up scoring on the power play and then laughing. And it's just little things like that. It's the game within the game. It's one thing teaching. Okay, it's great to show up and do all these things as soon as the game starts, but there's so many other things that takes within the game. It's the preparation. It's the focus all the way through the game. So how easy is it to lose focus in between the first and second period?
Yeah.
You go in there, you're messing around, and you're joking in the room, laughing, ha ha ha. You come out in the second, you get smoked.
Yeah.
Because you took off that, you took the foot off the gas.
Yeah.
Because you guys are joking around in the second period and the third period, same thing. How often do you see that?
Yeah.
People don't realize that. People don't think that is, what was done differently. What was, it's the preparation. It's that mental focus that was lacked for that 5 minutes. That's where the game went off. So
yeah, well, I think that's like, and again, it's funny how it comes back to just what we were talking about earlier in your own playing career, is just that always staying focused, always taking care, always preparing properly, like down to watching the guys who you were like watching the guys on the other team who you were planning on fighting. They had no idea who you were and you knew exactly who they were. You're focused, you've got your advantage. Same thing as a coach now too. Like if you're keeping your team focused, keeping your team prepared, they're making those decisions, like not fighting back, giving your team the power play and actually getting ahead in the game instead of feeding that kid a punch in the face, which I'm sure he would have loved to do.
Right. And that's me making sure that team is ready.
Yeah.
It's not just me showing up, hey guys, let's go.
Yeah.
It's me before the game, guys are messing around saying, hey, no guys, let's get your head on straight. Let's go. We got a game to play. And then, okay, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's being able to identify that and be able to say, hey, listen, and have that respect, from the kids, because they show you respect because you respect them. You can't just go in there and automatically expect to have the kids respect you.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now with Handmade Hockey, it's like it is pretty amazing how far it's come in such a short time, like turning 2 in June. With all the athletes you work with right now, what would you say are some of the like defining characteristics you're looking for kids who you feel are really going to be able to make the jump to the next level? Like you talked about your captain on Team Handmade. What are sort of the things you look for in those guys that make you think they're either ready or make you think they will be making the jump into juniors or into the pros?
I think the biggest thing is just that coachability, because you want to have a kid that you're going to be able to say something to and him listen.
Yeah.
Because there's too many kids now, and there's, like, I say this from experience, you talk to someone and, but I was, but. I'm not asking for an excuse. I'm telling you, get the fucking puck out. Yeah, but no. But if I would have made it through the middle area, but it would have been a breakaway. It wasn't. You passed it on the other kid's stick and you put it in the back of the net. Yeah, but there's always that little bit of, so it's just, I think what separates kids these days is that just the willingness to do more, to outwork that player, to do something when that other kid's not. And they say, you have to recover, and it's one thing to recover, it's another thing to recover properly.
Yeah.
You sit there, but I sat there and relaxed, and you ate 4 bags of chips. You sat there, relaxed, took care of your body, took a hot tub, relaxed, took care of yourself to make sure you're ready for that game the next day. Not going home, crushing drive-through on the way home, McDonald's, and doing stupid stuff on the way home. Like it is what it is, right? So.
Yeah. Absolutely. I love that too. It's just, again, it's like, it's one thing to do it. It's one thing to go home and relax. It's a whole other thing to go home and relax, eat a good meal, get 8 hours of sleep, and fully prepare yourself for
Exactly.
whatever you have
Exactly.
the next day. And I
Exactly.
think too, like, I love what you said, just the examples of those kids. Yeah, but something you see all the time, right? But again, the second you're using that word, the second you're starting to put in that excuse, and I know I still get trapped in it sometimes myself. It's easy to, point the finger and say it's someone else's fault.
Mm-hmm.
But the more you're able to, again, in my experience, the more you're able to put it on yourself, the more you're able to realize that whatever mistake you made, you've got control over it. You can fix it and you can make
Exactly.
the change you need. The better you are setting yourself up for
Right. That just shows, ultimately, that just shows maturity.
absolutely.
So, right. So if you're gonna talk about what does it take to get a kid to the next level, you have to be mature. If you're gonna be 16 playing junior B, you're going to be playing against 17, 18, 19, 20 year olds.
Yeah.
You can't have a 16-year-old kid that's, mentally weak, that's, going to shut down. You have to have a kid that's ready. And that's why I say he was ready. I knew that he was ready.
Yeah.
And that's not saying that he's just because he's skilled, because he's able to go in there and score and be able to be in the right spots and get a good breakout pass. No, because I know that if I put him in the corner with a 19-year-old, he's not going to back out. He's not even going to think about it. He's going to go in there and he's going to go for that puck.
Yeah. He knows
right?
his job to do, and he's
exactly. He's ready. He's ready for it. He knows what what is expected of him.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not someone saying, "Oh, well, I got to do this because he didn't." No, I'm going to do it myself. Take charge.
Yeah. Well, I like that a lot too, because again, like, it's so easy to kind of get focused on outcomes, right? Like, it's so easy to be that smaller 16-year-old. The example you used earlier of your first fight against that big burly 21-year-old. So easy to look at that guy and go, "Oh, whoa, no way!" But then to just be able to look at him and say, "Okay, this is what I've got to do," and go out and do it. And it's like, the more you're able to focus on the process, focus on the actual elements within the game, and less on, what might happen or what someone else is doing. I think, again, the more you're sort of showing that you're ready to step up, you're ready to move up.
Right, and that's something I always say to my players too. Like, if there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 D already, they're going to make the team here, and they're looking. Then you're thinking of everybody else.
Yeah.
But there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 forwards already here that on this. I'm not going to make this team. You can't think like that. As soon as you have that thought in your head, you're done.
Yeah, exactly.
When I went into the queue that year, I went in there. There was a list of 4 full teams. That's what he gave me, and he had it highlighted saying, "Okay, this guy can fight. This guy, maybe try this guy." Every time you step on the ice, I want you to go somewhere. So
Yeah.
every single time I was 6'1", 175, I was fighting everybody. I didn't even think twice.
Yeah.
And then they couldn't cut me. Like, I had to do something that was going to get their attention. I wasn't going to get their attention just playing stay-at-home D. Yeah, I could play. I could still play, but at the same time, I was fighting those guys that were getting one shift a game. Just they were 6'4", 240 with a mohawk, could barely skate. And they're stepping out and going, "Okay, let's go. Next."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think you just, like, you nailed it on the head with that one, right? It's just, you've got to take charge. You could have easily looked at that list of 4 teams and gone, "I don't have a chance," and taken off. But instead, you look at that list and you go, "Okay."
They were ranked the number 1 team in the CHL that year. They were the number 1 team, Bacon Drakkar that year. And I ended up making that team because I went into camp, dropped my moose nuts on the table and said, "Let's do this."
Yeah. Well, I think, like, again, you nailed it, right? It's just, instead of looking and going, "Well, there's 4 full teams here, there's no way I'm going to make it," you look at it and you go, "Okay, if I'm going to be the guy, what do I have to do?"
Yeah, they'll make room for you.
Yeah.
That's what I always tell them. If they like you, they'll make a spot for you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, when they think about, okay, what, then they do. And they start thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to make this team. They're not worried about what that kid's doing. Not worried about what that kid's doing. No, worried about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Focus on what you can control.
Love that. I love that. Yeah. And so I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, but with all this stuff we've just talked about, who, you can name a few names if you want to, but of these guys you're working with right now, guys or girls you're working with, who would you say is, like, on the right track right now to be moving up into juniors or moving up into the pros?
Ooh, moving up to juniors of the pros. Well, one kid I have to give shout out to Austin Ma. He's my boy. That's one kid. Was playing house league a few years ago, and actually met him through my old man. Met his dad, and they were talking. His dad said, "You should call my son." And like this kid, like we were doing outdoor rink sessions all last year, just on the ice, 2 times a week. Like every single week, we're on the ice one time at least, a Minto studio or another ice. Every single session, second I step on the ice is being recorded. Every single second they record it and they have it categorized, broken down. He comes over to my house. We sit here and watch his shifts broken down. He takes notes the whole time. And just the details, just the smartest kid. The details and the work that he puts into his game. And like he doesn't really see it as much. But that's one example that I always say, like we started off, his first notes, his first games, it's all negative. And now I watch his games and he's like, oh shit, I didn't score. But look, you didn't make any mistakes. He's playing with, maybe not playing with the best players, but if he was playing with better players, he was putting the puck in the right spot that somebody should be there.
Yeah.
So he's playing the way that, basically the way that I'm telling him to. I tell him to do something and he does exactly that.
Yeah.
And he's seeing the results. It's not being, and it's being able to sit there and talk about, okay, watch, you got crushed here. Why did you get crushed? And watching it 10 times. Let's watch it. Watch that D. As soon as your guy gets puck, watch their D. He's got you in the scope. So now it's teaching him to watch out for that player. And then we're doing drills, giving him, the opportunity to pick up the puck, and then I'm going in. So he has to, react, and just teaching those teaching points from how he plays.
Yeah.
That's one of my kids who, I think if he's given the chance, he's got flashes of pure brilliance. I tell you, his brother's a goalie, so his brother's out there all the time. We're sniping on his brother. It's a good time.
That's awesome. I love that kind of stuff, man. Like just kids who are willing to put that kind of work into it.
Yeah, like the work. So I'll give you a quick example here. He had dry land on a Sunday in Hawkesbury, so an hour away from here. Dry land and whatever, they're doing some stuff, and then I have my son. I told him come by at around 8. Okay, we're just stopping for dinner. We'll be there about 8:30. So he shows up at 8:30, leaves at about 11 o'clock. We did video all the way through. He leaves. I get a message from one of the other kids on his team. They're talking. I'm like, oh, Ma just left. Oh, how's the birthday boy doing? Kid was here for 2.5 hours on his birthday doing video. I'm like, I called him right away. I'm like, what are you like? Why'd you not tell me? Oh, no big deal. Like, really, it is a big deal for me. That's something that you're at my house. I could have. The next day I had a session with him. I brought him a cupcake. I brought him a little bag with a jersey, card with a picture signed. Made a big deal out of it. Like, that's just something for me. Like I was like, oh man, like the kid's spending time with me, breaking down his worst game that he's played in the last month on his birthday.
Well, and I think right there, right, like that, to me, that says so much more about his ability to jump up than it does if you said, hey, you scored 4 goals last week or whatever. He's taking time on his birthday. I've had so many messages before with athletes I'm supposed to work with. Oh, I can't train on Friday. It's my birthday. I'm going to do this. How important is it to you to?
Yeah. He didn't even tell me. Didn't even tell me it was his birthday. We're sitting here and we're watching him get smoked. I'm like, oh, can he leave? So like, jeez. Call him right away. Oh, it's no problem. Like, no, you got to tell me these things.
Yeah, that's too funny.
16th birthday. I'm like, oh my god.
Well, man, I hope he does get that shot because it seems like.
I hope so. I just got to keep working. I could sit here. I give you a list of all the kids I work with. I'm really lucky to work with all these kids. Like I have programs all the way through. Every single kid I work with, I'm on Team Handmade that isn't playing junior. I think they'll be playing junior. Every kid that has a goal, I think he's going to help get that goal because I'm going to help him get there. That's the way I look at it.
Absolutely.
I want kids with goals. That's what I tell them. Do you have a goal? No. I want you to get a goal and write it down.
Yeah.
Tell me about it. We can talk about that. We'll get you there.
And I think that's a huge part as a coach too, right? Is like, I think you've got to look at everybody you work with as, they want to be at this spot or that spot, they're going to get there. Like if they've got the right team in mind, and like when kids are smart enough to go and, find someone like you to help them out, set the proper plans, set the proper systems. I think right there, you're setting yourself on track to achieve anything you want to.
Right. And it's just being there for them. And that's, they're coming up to me before a session after, hey, can you help me out, show me this? I'm not gonna be like, no, yeah, absolutely. I love that. Somebody asks me something, I'm like, yes, please. And they're, oh, really? I'm like, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And being able to do anything and have that versatility to be able to work, I can do a 3-hour session with a kid if he can last, to be able to figure out, because I have that personal training background, to be able to figure out how to, recover properly and get that gas back up, and, use what can I use to let that kid recover, do some shooting, do some passing, talk to him for a second. I have that ability just to sit there and shoot the shit, and say whatever I want, I have my phone, show him a video of him, break that down, that shot. Okay, this is what it looks like, in slow-mo. And they're like, oh my God, look at that slow-mo. And I'm like, okay, but look, these are the details. And then they look, okay, and then we can show them again. They don't realize they're recovering the whole time. Then they're able to go 100%.
Yeah.
I want a guy that's, working 100%, bringing that gas down, and then going, you can only give me 70. I'd rather you get all the way up to 100 so you can give that 100.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And it just comes down to all the different training, everything, all my life experience, everything I've done has given me that toolbox, that tool belt. My tool belt is full, with all the different stuff, everything that I've learned, all the different details. I've always been such a detail-oriented person. I have to, break it down to the finer points, and that's helped me to translate and to be able to talk to, be able to teach it to anybody, really.
Yeah, well, I think too, just like I love how you're relying again on, the experiences from your own career and just everything you've done through your life, and how that's coming in now to help the next generation, like help these kids. The amount of sort of times that what you're saying about coaching is tying back to what you were saying before about playing, building confidence with your athletes, and just teaching, the coachability, the respect, all of these things that are going to be key beyond just your ability when you hit the ice, the keys to really being successful at the next levels too.
But these are also core values to, to be successful as a person. These are, like I always say, like, I'm not just going to help your kid get better on the ice.
Yeah.
Like if you're going to, with Team Handmade, it's a big thing, I'm going to help your kid. Like I had kids show up at the, the first practice last year. I'm coming in and, I got my board, I'm going to draw a drill or whatever, and kids messing around or talking, and I'm looking at them like, buddy, you want to come up here? Here, you come to it. I'll give him the marker. Okay, let's go. And what do you think he was doing the next time?
Probably listening, I'd say.
Right? But I would tell you, like 2, 3, 4 sessions in, I'd go up to one kid and I'd be like, hey, take a knee. I wouldn't even have to blow my whistle. I got the whole group coming in taking a knee.
Yeah.
I'm like, the quicker you guys come in, I'm going to tell you something, switch it up, the quicker you can go back to work.
Yeah.
And once they realize that, I'm not messing around. There's no time wasted.
Yeah.
It's to work. I'm serious. As soon as I step out there, okay, boom, let's go. Oh, you're going to shoot a puck? Okay. No, get out of here. It's establishing that respect, establishing that dominance, really, right off the bat. And that's the same way as a player. I wouldn't expect me to, sit in the corner and be like, oh, no, okay, no, I'm going to stand up and be like, hey, buddy, sit down. You're not going to touch any of my guys.
Yeah.
It's the same way now. I'm like, hey, buddy, I'm not going to mess up my product. This is my name. This is my brand. This is what I'm working for here. So,
yeah, man, I think this is a great place to wrap up. I think we've gotten a ton of really good stuff here. But just before we go, for anybody that is listening, how or where can they find you and learn a little bit more about your services and what you can provide for them?
Handmade Hockey. I got that on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Hander, HMH on the old Insta. Yeah, pretty straightforward.
Those would be the big ones to go to?
Those would be the ones.
All right, fantastic. And again, thanks again for agreeing to come on. Sorry, and it's been great learning more about your company and just I'm excited to see you start churning out NHL players too.
Yeah, buddy. Thanks again for having me on, man. Happy to help out anytime.
Have a good one.